2 slices of whole wheat bread raise your blood sugar higher than a Snickers bar. That's not a fringe claim from a contrarian blogger. That's what the glycemic index data shows, and it's been sitting in the nutrition literature for decades while your government told you to eat 6 to 11 servings of grain a day. Your doctor didn't lie to you, but the system that trained your doctor did. Today we're going inside 3 carbs that successfully disguise themselves as health foods. One has a government seal of approval, one is sold next to organic honey, and one is squeezed fresh every morning at your local juice bar. By the end, you'll know exactly what they do to your liver, your blood sugar, and your brain. And we'll get to the clinical trial that ran 5 years on humans, found something alarming, and was quietly shut down. Before we go further, think about what you ate this morning. Did any of it come from the healthy aisle? Hold that thought. The word healthy on a food label has a legal definition, and that definition has almost nothing to do with what the food does inside your body. In the United States, the FDA's definition of healthy was written in 1994. For most of that period, a product could legally call itself healthy if it was low in fat, which means a product loaded with fructose and refined starch could sit beside a green leaf logo and not be lying in any prosecutable sense. This is not accidental. A 2016 investigation in JAMA Internal Medicine, drawing on Sugar Research Foundation documents from 1967, showed the sugar industry paid Harvard researchers to redirect blame away from sugar and toward fat. That decision shaped American dietary guidelines for 50 years. Every time you chose the low-fat yogurt, the heart-healthy cereal, the no-added-sugar juice, you were navigating a system engineered to point you the wrong direction. The label wasn't informing you, it was managing you. The most dangerous foods in any health food store are not hiding. They are front and center with the right colors and the right words. Picture your liver on a Saturday morning, not because you drank, because you had a smoothie at the health food counter. Agave nectar drizzled over Greek yogurt, stirred into a post-workout drink. It is organic. It is low glycemic. The label says so. Here is what the label does not say. Agave nectar is 80 to 90% fructose, nearly double the fructose concentration of high fructose corn syrup, which sits at roughly 55%. And fructose has exactly one destination in your body, your liver. When a large fructose load arrives there, the liver responds the same way it responds to alcohol, converting the excess into triglycerides. A study published in Obesity in 2013 by University of California Davis researchers found that after 10 weeks, participants consuming fructose showed significantly increased visceral fat and early markers of insulin resistance. The glucose group showed neither. The Glycemic Research Institute ran 5 years of human clinical trials on agave. They halted future trials and legally banned agave from any food or beverage product they certified. 5 years. Then silence. That is not the behavior of an ingredient that passed. Your liver feels none of this in the moment. That is the trap. The low glycemic index claim on agave is technically accurate, and it is one of the most misleading numbers in nutrition science. The glycemic index measures how fast a food raises blood glucose. Agave scores around 15 to 30, far below table sugar at 65, far below white bread at 70. Diabetics were actively encouraged to switch to it. What the glycemic index does not measure is what fructose does after it bypasses blood glucose entirely and lands in the liver. Fructose does not raise blood glucose immediately. It does something slower and more damaging. It triggers insulin resistance at the cellular level, meaning over time your cells stop responding to insulin's signal. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2009 found that high fructose intake in healthy adults produced measurable insulin resistance within 8 weeks. No spike on any glycemic index chart would have caught it. Fructose metabolism also produces uric acid as a byproduct, the direct cause of gout, and an independent driver of arterial damage. Agave scores beautifully on one number while quietly raising three others. A clean score is not a clean bill of health. Most people would hand their child a glass of orange juice before they would hand them a Coca-Cola. The instinct is reasonable. The biochemistry disagrees. 1 liter of freshly squeezed orange juice contains approximately 66 grams of fructose. 1 liter of Coca-Cola contains roughly 62.5 grams. Juice, marked no added sugar, with the sunrise on the label, delivers more fructose per liter than soda, and it delivers it faster. People sip a cola over 20 to 30 minutes. Juice gets consumed in under 2 minutes. Speed matters because the liver's fructose capacity is not unlimited. Flood it, and triglyceride conversion accelerates. A 2017 review in Nutrients examining data across multiple pediatric cohorts found children who consumed fruit juice daily showed liver enzyme elevations consistent with early, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, the same markers seen in children drinking sugar-sweetened beverages. What juice is not? Fiber. Remove it, and you remove the brake. What remains is a concentrated sugar delivery system with synthetic ascorbic acid, often derived from cornstarch, added back so the vitamin C claim stays intact. The fruit is still on the label. The fruit is no longer in the bottle. You were not drinking fruit. You were drinking fruit's shadow. We are halfway through, and we have not even touched the one that has been on your government's food pyramid for 50 years. Before we get there, if this is reframing how you read a food label, hit subscribe. Every week we go further into the research that does not make it onto the packaging. The second half is where it gets uncomfortable, because the last carb on this list is not a fringe health food. It is in almost every kitchen in the world. Stay with us. Why does the form of a food change what it does to your body? The orange and the orange juice contain the same molecules. So why does one wreck your liver and the other does not? The answer is structure. Fiber, water, pulp, cell walls. These are not incidental parts of fruit. They are the delivery mechanism. When you eat a whole orange, fiber slows sugar's movement through your small intestine and triggers satiety signals. You feel full. You stop. Remove the fiber, and the sugar arrives all at once. A 2013 study in the British Medical Journal, tracking over 180,000 participants across 3 cohort studies, found whole fruit associated with reduced type 2 diabetes risk, while fruit juice was associated with increased risk. Same fruit, different structure, opposite outcomes. Fructose also silences your brain's fullness signal in a way glucose does not. Research from the University of Southern California, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2015, found fructose suppressed appetite-regulating brain regions that glucose left intact. The brain on fructose does not receive the instruction to stop eating. That is not weakness. That is chemistry. Structure is not packaging. Structure is function. In the 1950s and 1960s, American agricultural scientists were under enormous pressure to solve global hunger. What they produced was a triumph of yield and an unexamined catastrophe for metabolism. Norman Borlaug won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970 for developing high-yield dwarf wheat strains that dramatically increased grain production worldwide. The humanitarian achievement was real. But the wheat that emerged from decades of subsequent commercial hybridization had a starch profile meaningfully different from ancient varieties like einkorn or emmer. Modern wheat is dominated by a starch called amylopectin A. Unlike amylopectin B, found in bananas, or amylopectin C, found in legumes, the A variant is structured so that digestive enzymes break it down almost instantly. It reaches the bloodstream faster than nearly any other carbohydrate tested. Dr. William Davis, a cardiologist and author of Wheat Belly, published in 2011, documented that 2 slices of whole wheat bread raise blood glucose higher in clinical measurements than a Snickers bar, not because of added sugar, but because amylopectin A converts to glucose so rapidly, the body cannot buffer the spike. The wheat that feeds the world is not the wheat that built the food pyramid. Those are two different plants wearing the same name. Your bread changed, the label did not. Here is a finding that did not make it into any government dietary guideline. Fructose, consumed in quantities now normal in a Western diet, can alter the expression of up to 900 genes in the brain. That figure comes from a UCLA study led by Professor Xia Yang and Fernando Gomez-Pinilla, published in eBiomedicine in 2016. The researchers mapped gene expression changes across the brain after a fructose-equivalent diet. Genes governing metabolism, inflammation, and cell communication were all affected, including genes linked to Parkinson's disease, depression, and bipolar disorder. The fructose was shifting the brain's genetic operating environment toward conditions where these diseases gain ground. Then the same team tested a countermeasure, DHA, the omega-3 fatty acid concentrated in wild-caught salmon and sardines. DHA restored normal expression across the same 900 genes. The researchers described it as capable of blocking fructose's harmful effects on brain gene activity. The equation is precise. The more fructose your diet contains, the more DHA your brain requires to compensate. Agave in your smoothie, juice at breakfast, whole wheat bread at lunch. Each one draws down an account only cold water fish can refill. You ate your way in, you can eat your way out. The 1992 USDA Food Guide Pyramid placed grains at the base, 6 to 11 servings per day. That recommendation was not built primarily on nutrition science. It was built on agriculture policy and industry influence. A 2003 analysis by Harvard researchers Walter Willett and Meir Stamfer, published in Scientific American, argued the USDA pyramid was driven as much by meat, dairy, and grain industry interests as by nutritional evidence. The grain lobby had significant influence over the committee that designed it. The result told 280 million Americans to center their diet around the fastest digesting, blood sugar spiking carbohydrates available, while blaming fat for the obesity and diabetes epidemic that followed. The replacement that arrived in 2011, MyPlate, still dedicates a full quarter of the plate to grains with no meaningful distinction between refined and whole, and no acknowledgement of amylopectin A, glycemic load, or fructose metabolism. Not all carbohydrates behave the same inside your body. A sweet potato and 2 slices of whole wheat bread are not equivalent just because both are called carbohydrates. One is a whole food with a complex matrix. The other is an industrially processed starch your digestive system disassembles in minutes. The pyramid was not a health document. It was political. 3 carbs. 1 targets your liver with a fructose load it was never designed to handle, disguised as a low glycemic health food. 1 removes the biological brake from fruit and delivers a concentrated flood your body has no defense against. And 1 has been sitting at the base of your government's food pyramid for 30 years, spiking your blood sugar faster than candy while collecting a heart-healthy endorsement. You were not making bad choices. You were making choices inside a system designed to obscure the consequences. Now the system is visible. Next week we go further into the specific foods that actively repair the damage these 3 have done, starting with what the UCLA research team found in cold water fish. That one is worth staying for.